thanks for for even taking the opportunity to make time. I know a lot of us at home and we've got family, kids to look after, and just to take time, out of your busy schedule as well. And I think for me, when I wanted to talk to you and engage with you, a couple of weeks ago, I saw something that you had posted on Facebook. There was a conference, I think, for producers, actors, writers in Joburg. And I was really interested in that workshop. And I'm like, I'm in Cape Town. How do we get this knowledge? How do we get, And I'm really interested on the black market as black filmmakers, as black artists. And how do we come out of that thing of just being this artist who's starving, who's constantly fighting, but that you don't see anything tangible in your pocket? How do you make that happen, leverage? Because you work so hard, you do theater, you break your bones, but by the end of it, there's still nothing.
Right. So I've got two questions as a start. What you said you wanted, there's a knowledge that you wanted out of the workshop that was happening in Joburg, and then I want to know what knowledge is that you wanted to get out of that workshop. That's the first question. And the second question is, I think ideally, what's the number one thing you'd like out of this call? I'm happy that we can share our conversation with a lot of people. Like I was saying to you, that a lot of people would send me messages on social media, writers, directors, actors, and producers, everybody that I've just mentioned in these categories that's trying to get a break. They often sending me questions, and I'm glad that in this conversation we can tackle a lot of those. So yeah, you go ahead.
I guess what I wanted to get out from that meeting, which I saw online, is that as an actor, I realized that I can't just rely on the acting. I have to enhance other skills, such as writing, such as producing. And how does one navigate, and enter into those spaces? Yes, you can perhaps shadow someone, but because also I don't know the industry that much in South Africa. I'm still, pretty much new in the industry.
Yeah.
I graduated 2 years ago, and now I'm just realizing, actually, you know what? I can't just focus on the acting. How do I make other leverages? Because I see you doing it. I see you do the writing. I see you do the directing. I see the producing as well. And I'm like, wow, So
tell me, what have you seen that made you say that made you say, oh, he's directing, oh, he's producing, oh, he's writing?
I think it's just my research and reading up on you, and then seeing that, okay, he's a writer, okay, he's also a director. And how do you occupy all those spaces? And are you able to succeed in all those spaces? Or is it just one that you're mainly focusing on? Is it just the acting that you're truly focusing on, and then everything else kind of comes on as you go? Or do you deliberately?
Cool. Let's jump in. What's the first question you want to ask, so that let's jump in and start unpacking these things?
Okay. As a producer for yourself, how do you navigate in perhaps getting the funding? How do you navigate in making those opportunities and opening doors for yourself? How do you choose your projects as a producer?
All right. So, I think if I can expand on this question, for a lot of people who are wanting to produce, perhaps the extended question is, how do you begin? How do you start? And there's always many different ways to skin a cat. So there's a number of avenues one can follow into their producing sweet spot. I like to start with the picture of the end. For me, is to ask yourself, 5 years from now, what do you want to be doing? And the best way to do this, you want to write it down. You want to really take time to picture the 5 year from now, the 10 year from now, and describe what that picture looks like. And then you want to ask yourself a couple of questions. What kind of skills do you need in order to excel, in order to make the picture to happen, right? And then you want to spend some time building that skill. So the way I started was, I literally the first company, I'll just turn this down a bit. Interestingly, so my first drama series for which I won an award was Cha-Cha, which was made by Quizzical. Back then it had a different name, Curious Pictures, right?
Yeah.
And so there was a Xhosa drama on SABC One called Cha-Cha, and it was about these young people that lived in Lubusi, which is a fictional town in Pedi, and they were all dancers, and they were trying to get out of this village. The point is, after I finished filming, I asked to intern in the same company. Okay, so then I started working as a runner. So this is the first thing. So anywhere you already have an in, you want to start working, and you want to start working for free. Because people will call you back when you add value, right? And let's talk about interning a little bit. So and the main thing is just to get your foot in the door is the people that you already know in whatever form. I remember when I first one of the people that first gave me a big break was Akino Motosho. I don't know if you've heard of him. And so I was a student, 19 years old, and he was making his first film called God is African. Anyway, long story short, they happened to be filming close to the res where I was staying. And so the story is that the DP knocked on my window, and he said, "Please, can you plug this in?" And I was like, "Oh." I said, "What is it for?" He said, "No, it's just for a light." I said, "Okay." So I plugged it in. Working, I was studying. I was doing an information technology diploma. Anyway, long story short, then I was really intrigued. I was like, "What light is this?" So I decided to follow the cable. Right. So I get out of my apartment and I follow the cable. And this cable leads me, and I follow it, and it goes around the corner. And I turn the corner. Wow, here's this movie set, right? And I see a lot of the people I used to look up to who were on television at the time. I think there was the Tony Joroges, and then I saw Akin. I think Rapulana. I think Kenneth was there as well. Sonia Mbele, and here was this movie set, all of it, and that was my first experience. So the first thing I did was I just said, "Oh, can I help you carry stuff?" when they were moving. So I carried the sandbags, lighting stands, everything. The point I'm trying to make is you will find a place where you can help for free, and that's where you begin. Because this is where you're going to learn most things, a lot of things. Okay? Now, other ways in which people have gotten into producing, which is people have started making stuff for social media, they make YouTube things, and for that, you don't need anybody else. You use the materials that you've got and the people around you, whether you have a friend that's an editor or whatever, and you guys work together and you create stuff for YouTube. And so there's that way. Because you can always use your phone as well, just to, excuse me, you're already using your phone for self-tapes now, but to start making stuff from scratch. So for me, that's a step one into getting into producing.
Yeah. And then how important, like you mentioned something interesting about, volunteering yourself. And how important is it to volunteer yourself and not expect something? Because I find that sometimes people want something now, as soon as they've done a bit of work, they're immediately saying, "Yeah, I'm fine. I want to be, I want to earn something from this." How important is that patience and building those relationships?
So to answer your question, I want to tackle maybe two factors here. One is, there's a friend of mine who once shared with me who said that your passion doesn't have to be your money maker. Okay? Because if making films or acting or writing, directing or producing is your passion, it doesn't have to be your money maker. That's the one first big key that for me, I was like, what? Wow. So what do I mean by that? You could find something else to make money with, right? Because she said to me that sometimes that pressure is going to choke your passion.
Mm-hmm.
And then it
Mm-hmm.
might kill your desire. You know what I mean? It's also possible to make money out of your passion, no problem. But have we
Yeah.
explored that bit, right? So, in other words, you could do anything under the sun, whatever it is. You could be a builder or laying bricks, or you could be an accountant, or you could be doing things, whatever, work online, or you could be working in a factory, or whatever other work skill, whatever it is that you could be making money from, do that. That's my first encouragement.
Mm-hmm.
Because I feel like for it also depends on your personality. And if this is your personality, because then the moment you have money, it takes the pressure away. You get
Mm-hmm.
what
Yeah.
and now when there's less pressure on you um, getting money from the work, you are suddenly going to look at this differently because now you can create without the pressure of the money.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Let's say now, you were saying how important it is to nurture those relationships without asking for money. That's the question, right?
Yeah.
It's critically important because
Mm-hmm.
people must offer to pay you, particularly when you're starting out. People must want to pay you based on the value that you're adding. Remember, there's 20 other people who want that position, who are
Mm-hmm.
also waiting in the wings to get the internship. I remember, so in my days directing on television, I've worked on a couple of telenovelas and a sitcom. I've done a drama, and when we had interns come in, the interns you always wanted to call back are the
Yeah.
people that added value without demanding or expecting or feeling like they are entitled to something. So it's the
Mm-hmm.
ones that were like, even if you're a directing intern, if you're on set picking up rubbish and cleaning up, carry whatever that needs to be carried. Go offer to make coffee for all the HODs, you know? Or if the focus puller can't move, they're always there on camera. When you go and make coffee for them as well, you know?
Yeah.
The whole point was be as helpful as you can.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. 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 That makes sense. Because you honestly always find people just rushing and they want something back and they don't understand the importance of building those relationships and therefore they destroy them before even they started building, because they throw their toys out the tram.
Yeah, and ask yourself like, if let's say you had a 6 months internship through a program, what would make that person want to call you back to do the
Yeah.
next job, right? And the next job. And it's about the kind of value that you add.
Mm-hmm. 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 Yeah. And then so now, okay, so now once you start to build those relationships, of course, start to climb up the ladder. The more knowledge you're starting to know about the industry behind the scenes and how things work. um you know you shadow a producer, you have so much insight, and then you decide, okay, now I want to kind of go on my own. How does one begin that journey then?
Going on your own. If you don't mind,
Yeah.
let's take one step back. I just want to touch on writers
Yeah.
and how you can get in as a writer. Um, so I ended up I was storylining for a soap opera. Then I was script writing at one point for that. So in a similar way, I started interning. For me, the first thing is you want to set up you want to have your infrastructure set up for you to succeed.
Yeah.
Okay. So like number one, you now are able to speak to me online.
Yeah.
So a lot of people don't have access to like high speed internet. Some people, okay, and so you want to get those basics in place. Number two, if for me, I thought to myself, what's the one thing that can help me to learn writing the quickest? And
Sorry, that's me. My laptop is turning on.
okay, so
Yeah.
the first thing I realized that I needed to do to fast track learning as a writer or growth as a writer was learning how to type.
Yeah.
Because if you're typing like this, how are you going to write a script in 3 days, when
Yeah.
you need to turn around a television soapy script in 3 days?
Yeah.
If so, then I was like, okay, let me invest in learning. That was like the first thing. So number one, that those are some of the basics that you need. You know what I mean? So, and then you want to start teaching yourself. You want to get the right books, find the tutorials online, and
Yeah.
do you want to work in the television sort of writing rooms with soapy and like dramas, etc.? What is a storyline? What does it mean to a story beat or a major turning points document or you want to learn that stuff and find the courses. So I ended up doing a course. I was sponsored by the National Film and Video Foundation. They had a writing course, and that really began my writing journey because we had every weekend they led these workshops, and there's a lot of that kind of opportunity. You want to find it, you want to look for it. Some of it is online, some of it it'll be offered by like different sort of government film bodies, etc. You want to get in there and you want to get those courses, you want to get the book and you want to learn. That's the next thing. So now that you know your just your technical basics, and then you're learning some, because you're going to also learn the language of writing. So that's the first big thing. What happens next after that is you're gonna, like, if you join the Writers Guild, which you can do now, even though call it an aspiring writer, and we'll get to defining yourself, because I feel like you only graduate when you graduate yourself. So you'll see some of the things I was sharing with you, like people say, I'm an aspiring actor, I'm an aspiring writer, I'm an aspiring, do you only graduate when you call yourself a writer? That's it.
Yeah.
It's like, on no other day, like that's how this thing goes. And the more you learn, though, you can upskill yourself and you become better by the work that you produce. So does that begin to answer the question on how writers can begin to get in there? And it's about self-education and educating yourself. Now, branching out on your own.
Yeah.
That was the question you were asking me now.
Yeah.
With funding mechanisms. Just before I get...
Because the reason also, I think, what's it called? Because, all these steps that you're sharing now, it's the ones that people don't want to take through. They don't want to go through all that journey. Immediately they'll ask this question I'm asking you: how do I branch out on my own? Yet you haven't taken out the time to sort of educate yourself, even going back to typing, the basics. So I think this is really, really helpful for many people out there who say, I want to be a writer, I want to go and do my own films, etc., etc. So thank you for that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, and there's many other ways. What I'm sharing is just one of many different ways in which you can do this. And if you find it resonates with you, sure, go for it and go with it. So, for example, I also get in my inbox, people say, can I send you my script for you to read? I think you're going to like it. Now, the thing is, understand the business. There are 100 other people who are asking all these producers that you look up to read their scripts. Okay.
Yeah.
And what I found in the two companies that I've had, we're trying to make our own stuff, and we're not going to be reading it. We're not like, because we're already connected to a network of writers and creators, and we have some in-house already, and I write some of my own stuff, So we're not going to read your stuff.
Yeah.
This is the thing. Unless you're part of this inner circle, we're not going to read your stuff. Now, other people will have different kinds of ways in which you can write. So, for example, the Blacklist is, I don't know if you've heard of the Blacklist. It's an online, You've heard of the Blacklist, and people write scripts and they submit there. And the Blacklist, it's a global thing, and they'll choose 100 best scripts and they'll put them on there. And filmmakers, the best in the world, will come shopping for scripts there. Now, when people are shopping for scripts, I'm sure you'll know about it. And it'll say on their website that they're looking for scripts. And this is the way in which you want to give the idea. Also, there's legal matters about, I shared my idea with you. You read it. The next thing I see you producing it without me. Now I'm going to sue you. Now I'm going to tweet that I sent this under my script. He read it. Now he claims it's his. Never paid me a cent for it. And now it's on television on a Sunday night. And so that's the other part of it, is like the legal steps that I can't, because you could claim it's yours, and then it's this whole thing before it's cleared up. Also,
Yeah.
your 10 other people have had exactly the same idea as you have.
Yeah.
That's, I mean,
And is the old school way. I know. I mean, we got taught that you should email it to yourself. If you have a script, email it to yourself or post it yourself. Do you think that's still,
it
how?
is, yeah, it is relevant, because that's about how do you patent or copyright intellectual property. So, and you can Google about that stuff, but the Writers Guild of South Africa will have very good guidelines on how to copyright your idea and how to copyright your script. So I think even we had I've had like maybe 3 writing interns who are now writing for different companies and are doing really well for themselves, and they started out as writing interns, and I think that even as a writer, people are gonna back you when people know you, and they back you first before they back your idea. So that's what I noticed. It's we've got to have faith in your writing abilities, and then we back that.
Yeah. And then in terms of writing again, how important is it for one to have the passion for the storyline of what they're writing for? Because you might have a story and you're not really passionate about writing that particular story, you're not interested in telling that story, but because you want to get your foot in the door, you're kind of going with the program. And then I don't know, how important is that aspect of it?
I think if you don't have the passion for it, drop it. Simple, and that's it. Don't even try it if you don't have the passion for it.
Yeah. Because you will get uninspired. You won't have the drive and the motive to even pick up the laptop and type, because you just
you won't. And I think now I'm thinking just some of the DMs and inboxes I've had from writers who want to break in. Either they have an idea, and how can they get their idea out there? What I can share about that is, look, knock on as many doors as possible. You've got to enter every single pitching competition you can get your hands on, submit the script everywhere, but also treat yourself about how to make it better, how to make it better, how to make it better, how to make it better. And if you can find, and I'm sure you will, whether it's in the township where you're staying now or wherever neighborhood, there'll be a young filmmaker there. What if you ask that young filmmaker to shoot a proof of concept for your script? That's the other way to do it. And you've got to keep asking. And the other big thing I think is networking.
Yeah.
So you want to attend workshops, festivals, wherever there's a gathering of filmmakers. You wanna attend that, and because that's where you'll meet people who are wanting to make films. Because like filmmaking is a team sport, and there will be producers who are looking for fresh ideas, and not just, ideas aren't the best things, but if you've got an amazing script, that's a different story. It's like, even now, Usabelo, this guy who's written Mandla Dube's next project, he connected with Wandile, who I'm co-producing a rom-com with, and he'd written the script for Silverton Siege, and Wandile knew that Mandla was about to make this story based on Silverton Siege and sent that finished script. The point is, ideas don't get made. Good scripts get made. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you want to get yourself to an incredible screenplay. And it's about, have the right format, right? So like, don't write it in Word. You got to find a screenwriting software. There's some free screenwriting softwares like Celtex, whatever. Yes, your idea at first, you can write it down in any format, but when you start writing a screenplay, you want to write it in the professional world, the world standard for writing screenplays. Then now you've got something you can shop around. now that you've got a completed screenplay.
Yeah.
Whether it's a soapy or a drama or a movie, because for a drama you can write your pilot episode. For the soapy, you can also write your pilot episode, or you could write 3 episodes, and people can have samples that they can read. And then
and then so once, of course, you've kind of educated yourself on how to write properly, and now you want to kind of produce this. How important then is to have a pitch deck for yourself? So just whoever you pitch into, for people to kind of see the idea and how many pages should it be? Because, you get pitch decks which are 20 pages. Some say, no, make it 8 pages. Roughly, to get someone's attention, how many pages would you say for yourself?
Right. Okay. So my first question is, that pitch deck, who are you making it for? Who's going to see it? And what outcome do you want?
Yeah.
Because there are so many variations of it, and it all depends on who's looking at it for what purpose.
Yeah.
So give me an example. So, give me detailed distinctions here, so then I can answer you specifically.
Yeah. Let's say I'm just probably speaking roughly. If I want to take it to a producer, for example, for Mzansi Magic, I know they're doing a lot of the short films now, Mzansi Magic.
Give me a second. Just hold on there. I want to do this.